Welcome to the Peak Podcast. My name is Kyle Nelson. And as always, got my co-host and good friend here, Mr. Eli.
What's up, man? How we doing? Heck yeah. Yeah. I'm excited, man. See the audience cheering over here? I was playing with that button.
I did. I like it. Really cool episode we have today. We're having a previous guest back on.
We are.
And I think this is the first time with this podcast that we've done that.
It is. Yeah. Our old podcast, we used to bring. Yeah. This is very cool. Yeah. I'm excited.
And the last conversation we had of this individual's story and where she got to where she is today was really inspiring. And I think today we're just going to kind of dive in, see what's going on in her world. And
heck yeah.
Talk a little bit about short form and long form content and kind of where that's heading today. Because there's a lot going on. Yeah. If you haven't, though, known or listened to the Peak Podcast, this podcast is all about having conversations with coaches, entrepreneurs, and business owners, and kind of just diving into what that peak moment was in their life, where they found that they had some clarity in what they wanted to do next in life. And if you haven't yet, we are the founders of Peak Fulfillment, which is a self-guided solo retreat program where you go get through the noise of life in the fog in solitude for a few days and really dive into things such as self-discovery, self-reflection, and vision crafting, and kind of set a good path on your journey forward. But without further ado, let's bring on Isabella Sanchez Castaneda, the founder of Issa Media.
She's here. What's going on?
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm very excited and just happy to get to answer some of your questions because they were so insightful last time.
Very cool. Well, excited to have you here. Last time we were talking about words of the year. Remember that we were kind of going back and forth. We're talking about words of the year. How is that word coming for you? Do you feel like you're doing it? You're following it?
Yeah, I believe mine was like iteration. Yes, or something along those lines. And it's been interesting to stick to it and just to like actually be in that process and be willing to do it. So if the whole point of the word of the year, I feel like, is that it's a challenge. So I'm glad that it is.
That's awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah, we spoke back in November. So just excited to have you back on and talk a little bit more about just kind of catch up too. Let's start with how are things going since we last talked with everything you've got going on the business side?
Yeah, I mean, I think iteration is a perfect word for describing that. Shifting a lot of offers to be more monthly membership, and actually something that we're going to talk about today, meeting more of a demand of people are going towards long form, but they're not necessarily separating YouTube and podcasting and webinars. Like it's all kind of mushing together, which is actually a good thing. So just trying to meet that demand. And do so in a way where I can help a lot more people.
Beautiful. That's always the goal.
Yeah. I mean, let's dive right into it. You know, there's been a lot going on with short form content. It was really popular for a couple of years, like really popular. And we saw LinkedIn start to adopt it as well, where you can put short form videos on there. But now you're saying the focus is really starting to get into long form.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that short form is going anywhere. I think short form is how we are introduced to people. And that role, I think, is really important. No matter what short form platform you're on, it just catches your attention.
Yeah.
But I think the transition, and it's been happening for a while, is just like the trust building that needs to happen for new people to buy is so much higher. Like the barrier to entry is now so much higher that short form might not get you all the way there. It might not really allow you to know the person across the screen or on the screen enough the way that long form can. And so I think it's just a confirmation of what people have been saying for a long time, which is like, you need a long form platform. And this year, especially, more and more people are like, I don't know what these algorithms are doing. Let me go to a place I can control a little bit more.
Love that. That resonates really, really deep with me. I've kind of shifted how we do our sales meetings for our coaching company. I think what we're trying to do is trying to really understand who somebody is to their core. And I think a 30 to 45 minute coffee meeting or a 15 to 30 minute virtual connection isn't really going to get you there. So I've kind of shifted into the long form format from a sales perspective. And it's been really cool to get to know people deeper and doing longer type of activities, whether that's taking them up and doing some type of, mountain biking or skiing or rock climbing. It's been fun to see somebody open up and become more vulnerable. And I think in long form formats, you kind of have to do that to keep the convo rolling.
Absolutely. I think it's a vulnerability, but it's also a preparation. So it's almost the opposite of what you're saying of when you get to spend time one-on-one with someone, the walls start to come down.
Yep.
I think with content creation, in a good way, the walls kind of come up a little bit more, where you do see who knows more and who can actually go deeper into the topic that they're claiming to be an expert in. And that requires a good amount of preparation for someone to say, hold your attention for a 15-minute YouTube video.
Right.
It's pretty, to do it well, it requires a lot of intention. And now that there's so many templates and you can do it with AI and all this stuff, a 30-second video is really easy for anyone to pretend to know something for 30 seconds versus pretend to know something for 15 minutes or longer.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a cool point.
Well, I also think about too the difference between a live podcast. Like you can prep all day for but like jumping on a call with you or any of our guests or whatever, it's like there's not much prep you're doing. It's just you don't know what angle you're coming from. So podcast is more of an interesting angle with that.
Yeah, I think just being able to, so I would distinguish, there's the long form of an interview, and I think that there you do learn, like, okay, does this person know what they're talking about? Because in a good way, I'm being put on the spot to just like respond. And as the listener right now, they're saying, do I like her response? Do I not like her response? Do I see it as credible or do I not? With the long form that I help a lot of folks with, it's the solo long form. So it's more like on YouTube, people would call it a video essay or a more educational video. On podcasts, it might just be a solo show. It could even be a webinar where the person is on stage in a way. And it's like, are you compelled to listen to this person on stage, or are you like kind of being constantly doubting that person and not engaging? And so either way, I think just time to see a person's thought process and be like, oh, can I actually follow that? And do I like following that? Gets you to trust a lot faster than, a 30-second video where they told me, this big hot take, and that's about it.
Right.
Interesting. Who do you think is doing that really well? Is there anybody you follow or in the space is doing that well right now?
I think, my goodness. I think a lot of people are. One person that comes to mind just because I've been listening to them a lot recently is like an Alex Hormozy, where it's and Layla Hormozy as well, where they do their solo shows all the time, and they're usually 15, 20, and they talk a lot about how they've over time put more and more time into the preparation. And then they blew up because of short form, but people really have stayed in a lot of ways because of their long form. And they also have the Ask Me Anything style videos where you do get to see their on the spot thought process. So I do really enjoy them. There's just a lot of like great YouTube creators. I think of like a Hank Green who can do it in the perspective of like more science or history related things, and just saying like, okay, this person actually knows a lot about a lot. But those are just the two names that come to mind. I'm like trying to think of more, but I consume too much nowadays.
Yeah. And it's really special when like you have most podcasts these days seem like they're interview style conversations, but the podcasts that are more long form and you're talking about your specialty those are I have so much respect for people that can pull that off and do that. When they really create a really good script that almost tells a story that helps the journey and process of what you're trying to get across. And that's something we've been kind of teasing and thinking about, is doing those style long form podcasts, offering that, because there's a lot to be said. And you only can say so much in small little posts on LinkedIn or 30-second, 60-second reels. And so what do you, I know that's what you help people with, right?
Yeah. I think it would be great. I mean, and the advantage that the two of you have is that it would be solo, but it's still, you have the dynamic between the two of you. Yeah, that back and forth is important, but like being able to talk about the solar retreats that you have and being able to say, to do dedicated episodes. So the way that I look at them for my clients is like, what are the beliefs that we have to break in the audience's mind to get them to understand, even just not necessarily even buy yet, but just to understand. And so for you guys, it might just be like episodes about how to get more comfortable with solitude. And they're thinking right now, they're like, I haven't been in silence for more than 20 minutes in 5 years. How am I going to go from this all the way to a 3-day retreat? So if you did an episode about like how to get an hour of silence in your day, it makes them one step closer to saying, oh, I do think that it would be possible to do a multi-day retreat. Another thing, and then just talking about between the two of you, like, well, what are the studies saying about the importance of silence and the importance of solitude? What are your personal experiences with that? What are client experiences with that?
Right.
And people will slowly start to see like, okay, there's something there. It won't get them from, 0 to 100 in one episode, but it opens them up to the possibility a little more. And there's so many other things you can do. Like I know a lot of your process is very reflective. Someone might be like, what if I hate journaling? And they're like, why would I pay for something if it's going to require me to reflect? Like,
Absolutely.
I don't want to do that. And if you did a video about like, is journaling the only way to reflect? If it is for you guys, why? All those things just over time will start to show people that possibility.
What are your thoughts on? Cool. Yeah, that was really good. I have so many questions so quickly. on that style of podcast, but going live. Do people? Do you see? I don't see like people going live as often as I used to.
No,
it's like not as. I don't know.
Yeah, I have also seen that as well. At least I don't see people going live on Facebook or Instagram as much, but I do see people going live on YouTube. Okay. And I think that the big thing is like, can you structure it enough where you can keep going?
Totally.
Yeah, you almost would have to. Yeah, my mind's turning now.
Well, because with the lives, I think the challenge with the lives is that people, and the challenge, it's not even just with the lives. I think it's with long form in general, with podcasting. People still see podcasting, even solo podcasting, as just talking.
Yeah, sure.
And so they see a live as just going live. But we know that like we have so much choice in what we can consume. I don't necessarily just want to hear the thoughts through your head. I want to hear the thoughts through your head that are going to be relevant to me. And so there's just going with a little bit of structure so that when somebody on live messages you and asks you a question, you can answer that question fully because you know what you're going to go back to. And you can be like, okay, getting back to today's topic, and you don't feel derailed, because so many people on live will then just be like, I don't even remember my train of thought. And you're just like,
yeah,
okay, why am I here?
Sure.
Yeah.
Structure seems to be everything.
And you got to be able to have people on live too to pull that off.
Yeah, exactly.
Following to figure that out.
Yeah.
Well, I would disagree. I don't think you need to have people on live if you have the structure. Because what happens with lives is people jump on and they're like, well, I'm going to wait for someone to jump on and see what they want me to talk about. Right. But then if no one jumps on, you freak out. And so then you just start rambling. Yeah. Versus if you come in with a structure and you say, you know what, I'm going to talk for 10 minutes. If no one jumps on, I already know what I'm going to talk about. And if someone jumps on, then it's a little bit longer. Either way, I can use this video however I want.
I love that.
It's true. Yeah. The repurposing of that video, that doesn't matter how many people are there. Really. Right. You just fire it off. You can use it everywhere.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, this is amazing. Isabella, as we wrap up, what would be something that you want to leave with the audience around how they can take an actionable step around more long form content?
So kind of twofold. If they are in a similar situation to the two of you, where they have a podcast already that they do guest interviews, I would encourage them to weave in a solo episode or a host-led episode at least once a month and just play with that idea. And very related, even for the person who doesn't have it, that requires you saying like, we have something to say on our own.
Yes.
And so that can be very vulnerable, back to the vulnerability conversation. So saying like, how willing am I to be that vulnerable, and just putting that content a little bit longer out there, and knowing that it's going to take a little bit more preparation. So if whether you have a guest show or you're just getting started, embracing the vulnerability of like, hey, I'm going to be the person talking. I'm going to be the person who's claiming to know something, and I'm okay with that.
It highlights your
Great.
experience.
For sure. And ultimately, it's going to build self-confidence for people too.
Love that.
Wow.
Isabella, thank you so much for that good convo of kind of catching up and just kind of diving in just a little bit into long form. If people wanted to connect with you and they loved what you kind of had to say, where would that be?
Yeah. So best places would be LinkedIn. So Isabella Sanchez Castaneda on LinkedIn. If you just look up Isabella and then Issa Media Inc., that will probably be faster.
Okay.
There's a lot of Isabella Sanchez's out in the world. And then I would say from there, you can find all the links to my membership, which is the long form lab, or other pages like Instagram and all of those things.
Love that. This is perfect. Well, we'll put all that in the show notes.
Yep. Cool. Thank you so much, Isabella, for jumping on once again.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So cool.
That was good.
I love the point about if you're talking about like a funnel for a business is to warm them up there as well. I mean, that's a great channel for that.
Yeah.
Regardless of what platform.
I just love how it will really tone in your voice as an expert thought leader in that space.
Totally.
You can back it through a great podcast.
That's true.
Just diving in topics.
I love it.
Long form of me and Eli coming soon.
Yep. Get ready.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Peak Podcast. And if you want to listen to great guests just like Isabella, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notifications wherever you listen to podcasts. We can't wait to have you along on the next episode of the Peak Podcast.
See you guys.